Alright guys, Ben Lane Vlogs here and welcome to a new video. Today is a very special video. It's a new start. It's finally my boxing antics series. This is series 1, episode 1. So welcome all to the video. This series is gonna run on a weekly basis on a Monday. Every episode is gonna be a Monday. We're going to have maybe a special guest here every now and then. But for now, it's just going to be me. So, as you know, I'm a big boxing fan. But this series is going to be about talking about boxing, upcoming fights, past fights over the weekend before, dream fights, fights you'd like to see in the future between fighters. We're going to be talking about the history of boxing, and yeah, so stuff like that. So basically, so I'm going to talk about this weekend's fight. So, on Saturday night, there was a Newcastle, the show in Newcastle in the Metro Radio Arena in Newcastle. The main event was Josh Kelly versus Chris George for the WBA International welterweight title and the Commonwealth welterweight title. Josh Kelly stopped Chris George, the Australian boxer, in the 7th round due to Chris George having a pulled shoulder or some arm injury or something. It was quite a boring fight. We had there was a lot of just pitter patter. Sorry about that. It's just too much pitter patter. Josh Kelly's a bit of a mover, a bit of a showman. So obviously he wanted to put on a show for his Newcastle fans. This is his first show in Newcastle. It's the first show in Newcastle for Matchroom Boxing for a fair few years, if I'm honest. Also on the co-main event was Lewis Ritson versus Paul Hyland Jr. for the British lightweight title. That was a good fight. That was crazy. Lewis Ritson, as we know, carries crazy power. Stopped Paul Hyland Jr. in the first round. It was an interesting fight. It was quick. I thought it was going to last a couple of rounds. I thought it was going to go 3 or 4 rounds. It didn't. So he just blew him away, basically. Lewis Ritson blew Paul Hyland Jr. away. And now he's won the British title outright. He beat what was his name? Joe Murray. He beat Joe Murray on a next gen card a couple of months back. He beat him in the first round, knocked him out. Then he defended his title for the second time against Scotty Cardle. Knocked him out in the third, I think. And then he faced Paul Hyland Jr. on Saturday night, when he knocked him out in the first round. And then there was another fight last night. It was a late night fight, early morning in my country. Errol Spence Jr. versus Okamposh. I don't know much about Okamposh, but I know that Errol Spence Jr. is an IBF welterweight champion of the world, and he stopped him in the first round with a body shot. It was a brutal body shot. I've seen the footage. Crazy fight. I thought that, Errol Spence was going to look to get some rounds in. It was his mandatory defense. Okamposh was 3rd in the rankings. But yeah, it was just a basic fight. So now, obviously, now Lewis Ritson can go on and look at European world title level. Josh Kelly's gonna be fighting in America, as Eddie Hearn said, next. But enough of that. Enough of the weekend fights. Now let's move on to the other fights. There's a future fights coming up, right? So the big one I'm interested in: Dylan White versus Joseph Parker at the O2 Arena on the 28th of July. I think this is going to be a brilliant fight. 2 brilliant heavyweights, both being defeated by Anthony Joshua, let me just remind you. It's a wicked card. Katie Taylor's on the card. Cal Brooks on the card. Derek Chisora versus Carlos Takam's on the card. Then you've also got Conor Benn on the card. Joshua Buatsi versus Ricky Summers. In the heavyweight division, that's a brilliant fight. Brilliant learning fight for Joshua Buatsi again. You know, he's gonna be a star. And then I for Dylan White, Joseph Parker, I'm in two minds. I believe Joseph Parker could outbox Dylan White and get it a points victory. But I also believe that Dylan White, if he catches Parker right on the chin, he could knock him out. We never saw Joshua went the distance with Joseph Parker and knocked Dylan White out in the 7th round. That was a long time ago, though. Joshua's improved massively since then. So is Dylan White. But yeah, it's just going to be a really, really interesting fight. Brooks on the card, as I said, for a world title eliminator, hoping to get in. Excuse me, against Jamel Charlo. He wants that WBC belt in the super welterweight division. That would be a really nice fight. The next fight I want to talk about is Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr. Mikey Garcia, 4-weight world champion, 31-0, with something like 22 KOs, I think. Robert Easter Jr., you know, I thought he lost his last fight. I can't remember who he fought, but I thought he lost it. Mikey Garcia fought Sergey Limpitz in his last fight for the IBF super lightweight crown. Beat him on points. Boring fight. I'm looking forward to this one. It's a unification for the IBF and WBC lightweight championship of the world. He's going back down. He wants to unify Mikey Garcia. And he wants to fight Lomachenko at the end of this year. I think Lomachenko would absolutely hammer him. But enough talk about that. Let's move on to the next fight that's happening in the next coming weeks. Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matthias for the WBA regular welterweight championship of the world in Thailand, I think it is. That's going to be a wicked fight. You know, two brilliant fighters of the sport. Manny Pacquiao, an absolute legend. 8-weight world champion, all the way down from super flyweight, all the way up to junior welterweight. That is an astonishing, not junior welterweight, super welter. That is an astonishing achievement. You know, he's had some really bad. He had like a 2-loss streak since before he's been world champion again. He lost to Floyd Mayweather, and then he lost against Jeff Horn, which I thought was an unfair decision. But yeah, you know, that's a really exciting fight. You know, both brilliant fighters, both legends of the sport. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to something. Fights we'd like to see in the future. Fights that are being talked about. The one fight I'm really, really interested in is Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. That is a fight everyone wants to see. That is in the making. I haven't seen any more news there apart from the fact that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua sent Deontay Wilder a contract last week. Seems like Deontay Wilder's running away from Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn. He doesn't want the fight. He said he agreed to the fight in the UK. Eddie Hearn sent him the contract. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't heard anything else. I haven't seen nothing in the news. So you know Joshua's the WBA, WBO, IBO, IBF unified heavyweight champion of the world. Deontay Wilder holding the WBC belt. It's a very, very, very big fight. It's probably the world's biggest fight right now. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention another fight. September 15th, we get the biggest fight of the year. Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin #2. I am so pumped for this fight. The last fight was utter dog. The fight was just poor. Canelo got away with so much. Obviously, they found cholesterol in his system. You know, there was a lot of talk about different things. But, you know, that is a fight that I'm looking forward to seeing. Golovkin has had his IBF title taken off him due to him not facing the mandatory. I'm disappointed with that. You know, they should have given him more time, you know, to either make a fight with Canelo or fight the mandatory. Which was Darchenko, I think. Ruslan Darchenko or something like that, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a fight that's been made September 15th, HBO, and it's going to be massive fight. But other fights we'd like to see. The fight I'd like to see is Tony Bellew versus Tyson Fury. That's a massive fight for me. Tyson Fury's talked about Bellew being too small. Let me just point this out to you now. Tyson Fury, his last fight, he fought a 5'11" guy. Tony Bellew is 6'3.5". You're talking about him being too small. You're saying he's too small. You fought a guy that was 5'11". Come on, be real. You are just pulling out because you know you were shite in your last fight, and you'll be shite again. Joshua would put you on your backside. Deontay Wilder would put you on your backside. You are not going to be a world champion again, let me tell you that. Other fight I'd like to see is Jarrett Hurd versus Jamal Charlo. Massive fight. Kell Brook's calling for Charlo. Jarrett Hurd's calling for Charlo. Charlo is calling for Jarrett Hurd. You know, it's a unification fight in the super welterweight division. That's massive. George Groves versus Callum Smith coming up. Brilliant fight. I think Callum Smith will knock George Groves out, in my opinion. Alexander Usyk versus Maruts Gassiev in the WBSS Cruiserweight final for the undisputed Cruiserweight champion of the world. I think Usyk's going to walk that fight, no problem. Now we're going to talk about some dream fights. Fights that we've always wanted to see, and we've always wondered what would happen. My first fight I'm going to mention, I'm only going to mention one of them today. I'm going to mention one each video. Today, I think, you know, looking at everything that we've seen from boxing over the last 40, 50, maybe 100 years, I'd like to see Muhammad Ali versus Vladimir Klitschko. That would be a fight. You know, back in Muhammad Ali's day when he was in his prime, you know, he was always known as Cassius Clay's, you know, when he was known as Cassius Clay, you know, when he was in his prime, I don't think Klitschko would have had a chance. Klitschko would have been too robotic. Ali was athletic. He was too, you know, maneuvering all the time. He was very quick on his feet, fast hands, and very charismatic. Klitschko, very basic, you know, still crazy good fighter, still a legend of the sport, but Ali would have just annihilated him. But anyway, you know, there's going to be a lot of fights coming up this year. There's a lot of fights coming up next year as well that I'm looking forward to. But, you know, I'll discuss those on the next video. Anyway, guys, this is it from me now. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, turn your notifications on as well, right? Because there's a video coming out tomorrow as well. I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure that you share this video as well. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.